Little John turns barefoot friar. Cold winter had passed, and spring had come. No leafy thickness had yet clad the woodland, but the budding leaves hung like a tender mist about the trees. In the open country, the meadowland lay a sheeny green, the cornfields a dark velvet colour, for they were thick and soft with the growing blades. The plough boy shouted in the sun, and in the purple new turned furrows flocks of birds hunted for fat worms. All the broad, moist earth smiled in the warm light, and each little green hill clapped his hand for joy. On a deer's hide, stretched on the ground in the open in front of the greenwood tree, sat Robin Hood basking in the sun like an old dog fox. Leaning back with his hands clasped about his knees, with lazy watched Little John rolling a stout bowstring from long stands of hemping thread, wetting his palms of his hands ever and anon, and rolling the cord up on his sick. Nearby sat Eleanor Dale fitting a new string to his harp. Quoth Robin at least, "Methinkest I wonder rather roam the forest in the gentle springtime than be king of all merry England. What palace in the broad world is as fair as this sweet woodland just now? And what king in all the world hath such appetite for plovers, eggs, and lampreys as I for juicy versions and sparkling ale? Grether Swantold speaks truly when he saith, better a crust with content than honey with a sour heart. Yea, quoth Little John, as he rubbed his new-made bowstring with yellow bee wax. The life we lead is the life for me. Thou spakest for of the springtime, but methinkest even the winter hath its own joys. Thou and I, good master, have had more than one merry day this winter past, at the Blue Boar. Dost thou not remember that night thou and Will Studley and Friar Tuck and I passed at that same hostelry with the two beggars and the strolling friar? Yea, quoth merry Robin, laughing, that was the night that Will Studley must needs snatched a kiss from the stout Hootess and got a cannakin of ale emptied over his head for his pains. Truly, it was the same, said Little John, laughing also. Methinkest that was a goodly song that was strolling friar sang. Friar Tuck, thou hast a quick ear for a tune. Dost thou not remember it? I did have the catch of it one time, said Tuck. Let me see. And he touched his forefingers to his forehead in thought, humming to himself and stopping ever and anon to fit what he had got to what he scratched for in his mind. At least he found it all, and, clearing his throat, sang merrily. In the blossoming hedge the robin cock sings, for the sun is merry and bright, and he joyfully hopes and he flutters his wings, for his heart is all full of delight. For the May bloometh fair, and plenty to eat in the Maytime rare. When the flowers all die, then off he will fly, to keep himself warm in some jolly old barn, where the snow and the wind neither chill him nor harm. And such is the life of the strolling friar, with a plenty to eat and to drink. For the good wife will keep him a seat by the fire, and the pretty girls smile at his wink. Then he lustily trolls, as he onwards strolls, a rockingly song for the saving of souls. When the wind does blow, with the coming of snow, there's a place by the fire for the fathering friar, and a crab in the bowl for his heart's desire. Thus Friar Tuck sang in a rich and mellow voice, rolling his head from side to side in time with the music, and when he had done, all clapped their hands and shouted with laughter, for the song fitted him well. In very sooth, quoth Little John, it is a goodly song, and were I not a yeoman of Sherwood Forest, I had rather be strolling friar than aught else in the world. Yea, it is a goodly song, said Robin Hood, but methought those two burly beggars told the merrier tale and led the merrier life. Those do not remember what that great black-bearded fellow told of his begging at the fair in York? Yea, said Little John, but what told the friar of the harvest home in Kentshire? I hold that he led a merrier life than the other two. Truly for the honour of the cloth, quoth Friar Tuck, I hold with my good gossip Little John. No, quoth Robin, I hold to mine own mind. But what sayest thou, Little John, to a merry adventure this fair day? Take thou a friar's crown from our chest of strange garments, and don the same, and I will stop the first beggar I meet, and change clothes with him. Then let us wander the country about this sweet day, and see what befallens each of one. That fitted my mind, quoth Little John, so let us forth, say I. Thereupon Little John and the Friar Tuck went to the stair-house of the band, and there chose for the yeoman the robe of a good friar. Then they came forth again, and a mighty roar of laughter went up, for not only had the band never seen Little John in such guise before, but the robe was too short for him by a good palm's breadth. But Little John's hands were folded in his loose sleeves, and Little John's eyes were cast up on the ground, and at the grindle hung a great long string of breads. And now Little John took up his stout staff, at the end of which hung a shabby little leathern pottle, such as farmers carry at the tip of their staves. But in it was something, I vote, more like good melon, say, than good spring water, such as goodly pilgrims carry. Then up rose Robin, and took a stout staff in his hand, likewise, and slipped 10 golden angels into his pouch. For no beggar's grab was among the stores of the band, so he was fain to run his chance of meeting a beggar and buying his clothes for him. So all being made ready, the two yeomen set forth on their way, stringing lastly along all in the misty morning. Thus they walked down the forest path until they came to the highway, and then along the highway till it split in twain, leading on one hand to Bluff and on the other to Gainsborough. Here the yeoman stopped. Quoth jolly Robin, take thou the road to Gainsborough, and I will take the one to Bluff. So fare thee well, holy father, and mayst thou not ha cause to count thy beards in earnest the ere we met again. Good Dean, good beggar, that it to be, quoth Little John, and mayst thou not have cause to beg for mercy ere I see thee next. So each stepped sturdily up on his way until a green hill rose between them, and the one was hid from the sight of the other. Little John walked along, whistling, for no one was nigh upon all the road. In the budging hedges the little birds twittered merrily, and on either hand the green hills swept up to the sky, the great white clouds of springtime sailing slowly over their crowns in lazy flight. Up hill and down dale walked Little John, the fresh wind blowing in his face and his robes fluttering behind him, and so at least he came to the crossroad that led to Saxford. Here he met 3 pretty lasses, and each bearing a basket of eggs to market. Quoth he, "Wherewith away, fair maids?" And he stood in their path, holding his staff in front of them to stop them. Then they huddled together and nudged one another, and one presently spake up and said, "We are going to the Taxford market, holy friar, to sell our eggs." "Now, out upon it," quoth Little John, looking upon them with his head on one side. "Surely it is a pity that such fair lasses should be forced to carry eggs to the market. Let me tell you, and I had the shaping of things in this world, ye should all 3 have been clothed in the finest silks, and ride upon milk-white horses, with pages at your side, and fed upon nothing but whipped cream and strawberries, for such a life would surely befit your looks." At this speech, all 3 of the pretty maidens looked down, blushing and simpering. One said, "La," another, "Marry a marvellous sport of us," and a third, "Listen now to the holy man." But at the same time they looked Little John from out the corners of their eyes. "Now look you," said Little John, "I cannot see such dainty dames as ye are carrying basket along the high road. Let me take them mine own self, and one of you, if ye will, may carry my staff for me." "Nay," said one of the lasses, "but thou canst not carry 3 baskets all at one time." "Yea, but I can," said Little John, "and that I will show you presently. I thank the God Saint Wilfrid that he hath given me a pretty wit. Look ye now, here I take this great basket. So here I tie my rosary around the handle, thus, and here I slip the rosary over my head, and slipping the basket over my back in this wise." And Little John did according to his words, and the basket hanging down beside him like a pillar's peg. Then giving his staff to one of the maidens, and taking a basket up on either arms, he turned his face towards Turfolk's town and stepped forth merrily, a laughing maiden on either side, and one walking ahead, carrying the staff. In this wise they journeyed along, and everyone they met stopped and looked at them after, laughing, for never had anybody seen such a merry sight of this tall, strapping grey friar, with robes all too short for him, laden with eggs, and trampling the road with 3 pretty lasses. For this Little John cared not a whit, but when such folks gave yeasting words to him, he answered back as merrily, speech for speech.